Hey, and welcome to today's conversation. We're going to be diving into the talk around adult relationships and how to navigate conflict, how to navigate disappointment, projection, and everything else. So, first off, I just want to share a story with you. I want to share a couple stories with you today to support you if you are maybe running into some uncomfortable situations in relationships with people that might be a little strange, or they're just really not working for you. And I'm not talking specifically about intimate relationships. I'm talking about friendships today. And so recently, I received a message from someone who I don't really know that well. Maybe I've talked to once in my life, had one conversation with, and they've been wanting to get in touch. They've been wanting to connect. And I have had a lot on my plate lately, and I never fully committed to getting together with a set time. And I expressed I was very busy. So the day came up that this person wanted to connect, and I said, I'm really sorry. I'm super busy. I had some issues with my phone. I wasn't receiving messages for a week, and most of my messages weren't going through. And I was also running a 5-day event. And this person sent me a message saying how they're not scheduling our next meeting because I've canceled the last two. And I just said, okay, it sounds like we're not in alignment right now with connecting. And I just let it go. I was like, whatever, it's fine. But I want to break a few situations down and how I handle them and how I see these adult friendships or acquaintances and how I navigate it. And so I have this, I guess, rule with myself in my relationships that if I have relationships as an adult, I'm in my mid 30s, and people are trying to shame me, make me feel bad, guilt trip me, project things on me, or expect time from me, and there's any kind of funky energy there, what I'm going to do is I'm either going to call it out, number one, and name it if it's someone I'm genuinely close with, or I am going to move away from it. And I want to share why I'm going to do one of those two things and how this can work for you. So, this specific person that I was in communication with, we don't have really a previous relationship. We've had like maybe one conversation ever. We don't have years of friendship. It's more of an acquaintance. And we've had one conversation. We've had a couple interactions in the last little while about getting on a call. It hasn't lined up. But when I said, I'm sorry, I'm really busy, this stuff is happening, I'm unable to, there was a bit of a blame shift and there was an energetic thing going on that I felt. And I was like, okay, am I going to call this out or am I going to move towards it? Am I going to call this out, sorry, or am I going to move away from it because it's not what I want? And in this case scenario, I decided to move away from it. And the reason why is because I I am not going to invest emotional time and capacity to train someone what I expect in a relationship with someone that's new in my life. It's just not something I'm up for. Maybe it is something that you're up for in this part of your life. For me, if I've had someone in my life for 5, 10, or even, 3 years and it's a close friend and something funky happens, I am more than happy to unpack some of the emotions with them and work with them and also, call it forward in a very gentle but also direct way. But if it's someone new in my life, I am moving away from it because I don't want those types of relationships in my life. I'm going to give you another situation just because I love giving stories to share and also to inspire and, to educate of my experience. So there was somebody in the new city that I'm living in that we were potentially looking at collaborating and creating a business together. It was just a potential, it was a thought. We were thinking about opening up a wellness/spiritual center. It was a really cool idea. And it wasn't something that was solid. It wasn't something that we decided on fully. It was something that we were in conversations around. And then I had 2 weeks when I was traveling. I was in a mastermind. I was speaking on stages and I had a lot going on. And I let this person know ahead of time that I'm not really going to be available for those 2 weeks. So I get back and our first conversation was blaming and projection, and also you didn't message me or contact me for 2 weeks, which I already stated before I left I was going to be busy and I wasn't going to be available, which is stating a boundary. And then this person, a woman, projected all this stuff on me. And I started to work through some of it with her. I'm like, I understand why you feel this way. I was trying to unpack it. And then it came to a point in the relationship and the conversation where I was like, yeah, this is not a friendship I want to explore. And I left the situation. And so some of you might be like, oh my gosh, she is so cold. Wow, these are two situations. She's this, she's that. But really at this point in my life, I don't want to be in relationship with people who are blaming or pointing the finger and don't understand or respect my boundaries that I don't already have a long-term relationship with. Like I said, in both of these situations, if they were people that I had a long-term relationship with, I'd have more tolerance, more capacity to share and unpack. But in my adult life, I really don't have time to train people how to treat me. And I personally only want relationships with people who are understanding of life. And this is part of my filter for some of my best friends. I have, I would say, probably 5 to 10 really good friends that I've met in all different parts of the world, some in BC, some in Eastern Canada, some in the States, some in Mexico, Indonesia, all over the place. And what I love about my best friends, the people that I have a really deep bond with, is we can not talk for 6 months and then hop on a call or go for coffee. And it's like, we're just catching up on life. We're having a great time. And there's never, you haven't called me. I feel like when we get into blame shifting and trying to guilt people into what they have or haven't done for us, especially in adult friendships, it's really coming from a victim mentality and a lack of understanding. And also, it can be kind of manipulative, actually. If you're not willing to address the problem or understand what someone is going through, then it's just not going to work as an adult friendship. So I wanted to bring up those two scenarios because past version of me years ago, I used to be a people pleaser and I used to manage everyone's emotions, make everyone feel great, and apologize, apologize, apologize. And I'm in this era of my life of I really am not here to make everyone happy. I'm really not here to do every little thing to make people feel the way that they want to feel around me and sacrifice myself. And I am really good at sharing boundaries with people to ensure that expectations are very clear. So let's talk about expectations and let's talk about boundaries. So first of all, before we get into that, some rules that I have in relationship is that I don't want codependent female relationships. I just don't. I don't want people who expect me to call them every single week or be in touch with them all of the time. That for me is for the person that I'm with in an intimate relationship. And outside of that, I want freedom to ebb and flow in all of those things. Of course, when I'm in town and when I'm around my friends and we make plans, I want to follow through on them. But if someone can't follow through on something because they're having a crazy day or whatever's going on, I'm not going to hold it against them. It's just not in my nature, and I wouldn't want someone to do the same. And then going back to the newer friendships, the people that want to get into my world, that want to become friends with me and are wanting to blame shift or have expectations of me when I've clearly stated what I'm available for or not available for, I tend to move away from those because those are high maintenance relationships that are going to be draining and codependent. So, something to think about when you're building your relationships as an adult is what type of relationships do you want to have? How do you want to feel? And where are you potentially trying to manage other people's expectations of you and putting yourself last? That is a symptom of codependency, and it can show up in so many different ways. So, now let's talk about expectations and boundaries. So, of course, if you have a really good friend who it never shows up for the things that you plan, over time, that's going to become frustrating. And yes, you should have a conversation with them. And yes, you should also have compassion, right? So compassion and also conversation. But at the end of the day, we're all living life. We all have a lot going on. And I think understanding is so important. So is freedom within those relationships. So as far as boundaries go, some of the things that I like to do is I tell people what I'm available for and what I'm not available for. So although that person wanted to connect with me this week and the week before, I didn't actually agree to a specific time and we did not put something on the calendar. And I did mention I am super busy right now, AKA I have a lot going on and I am not fully committing to a time. So when we didn't have a call and it was, this person was clearly upset, I just moved away from it because I was like, I kind of already said I'm not super available right now. And I didn't lock in a time. And now you're blaming me and shifting it rather than being like, oh, she's really busy and she's had a lot of issues with her phone and she's running a 5-day event. Maybe I should just get her to get in contact with me when she has time. You know, and also with that experience that I was sharing that I was away for 2 weeks, I clearly stated, hey, I'm really excited about what we're going to be potentially creating here together. I'm going to be away for a couple weeks. I'm not going to be available. Very clear. Upfront, set the expectations, set the boundaries, and say it upfront. I'm available for this. I'm not available for this. I'm available for that. I'm not available for that. And then see how people operate in your life. If it's people that have been in your life for a long time and they're used to you being a certain way, you kind of have to probably, most likely, train them a little bit more and have a couple more conversations. But new people in your life, if you're upfront and clear, I don't know. I'm just not really into second, third chances with people anymore. It's just a waste of time in any type of relationship. And that's where I want to go to the next piece of conversation that I think is really important to have, that it's normal to outgrow relationships. It's normal to expand. It's normal to let go of relationships that are potentially seasonal, that are circumstantial. You're, living in a part of the world, or, you're connected to someone for a job or a career or whatever it is. And it's okay to let relationships go without it being dramatic. I don't really have any drama in my life because I allow the seasons to pass as they do. Let the leaves fall in the fall and release what's no longer in alignment. And I think that goes with friendships. And I think it was like 2024, I started to do a pretty deep detox of friendships, female friendships specifically, because I had some friends in my arena, newer friends within the last year or so at the time, that felt like entitled to my time, that felt entitled to me always being available. And I talked about this in a past episode somewhere. I don't know which episode it is in the moment, but I talked about female friendships and some specific things. I think I talked about boundaries. Yeah, it was most likely boundaries and having hard conversations. And I had some people that were super judgy and wanted to control, my relationships, like who I should be with, who I shouldn't be with. And I was like, you know what? Anyone that has a strong opinion about who I am and what I should and shouldn't be doing, or is trying to control me, doesn't get access to me, because I am a sovereign being. I have a good head on my shoulders. I know what I'm doing with my life. And I just don't want people in my reality that do not honor and respect me. So let's talk a little bit about what respect is. And it can look like and feel different for everyone. But for me, if I state a boundary with someone, what I'm available for and what I'm not available for, and then they go to try to blame shift me for a boundary, or they don't honor what I'm saying, that's okay. But I'm not necessarily going to show up and move closer towards that person. I'll most likely, as these two relationships that are newer that we're trying to come in, I'm moving away. I'm like, oh, this isn't the emotional maturity and the type of relationship that I'm looking for. And then it also has to do with really honoring who people are and letting them be who they are and not trying to control them. A lot of the time when people are trying to control us, it's because they feel like they're out of control in their life. And I remember, maybe about a year or a bit ago, I was in a relationship with someone for about a year, and then we broke up for a couple weeks, and then we ended up getting back together. And I remember an acquaintance/friend of mine, she was moving more into the acquaintance category just because of a lot of behavior that was not in alignment with my values and the type of people I like to surround myself with. We were at a party or a gathering, and she found out that I got back together with this person, and she started getting upset about it and telling all these people, can you believe she's back together with this person? And I was like, you don't even know anything about my relationship. You don't even know me. You don't even know these people. They don't even know me. What are you doing? What are you trying to rally? Are you in high school? And another reason why I decided to move away from that friendship was because there was a lot of codependency in it. a lot of control mechanisms, and also projection. And it just to me didn't feel right. I was like, I don't want to have female friends in my life that are trying to control me, that are judging me for the relationship that I'm in, and are doing odd things in groups. Like, that is not what I want to be a part of. And also, this person was also, sleeping with a man who's married with kids and justifying it like it's no big deal. And I just don't want to be associated with people who are out of integrity and justifying it and doing things that I would not want to be associated with. So, another rule that I have for myself is I don't associate myself with people who are living a life of being out of integrity. And I don't want to be around people like that. So, really, when it comes to respect, it's about respecting yourself. And are the relationships in your life a reflection of how you feel about yourself? Does that feel good, or does it feel ick? And if it feels ick, or they don't make you feel good about yourself, and there's these patterns and things showing up, it might be time to start stepping back from those relationships, focusing on yourself, getting clear on what you want as far as relationships go, and having boundaries with people who want to come in, and stepping away from those who aren't honoring your boundaries and moving closer to the people who are in alignment, who have similar goals, mindset, or are on the same journey as you. So I personally love to spend time with big-hearted people who are mission-based, who are spiritually aligned, who are genuinely good people and have a moral compass, and don't do psychedelics every weekend. And I'm not dissing psychedelics. I think psychedelics are amazing, but I don't want to be around people who are constantly using something to escape their life or have any type of addictions. And this isn't because I don't have compassion towards people with addictions or who are struggling. It's just not the type of environment that I want to have when it comes to my friendships. And so I'd love to hear from you. What are some of the things that you really want to have with your friendships? And for me, I love people who are genuinely themselves. I don't have to agree with everything that they do with their life, but being a good person, having a moral compass, and being mission focused and into developing and bettering themselves is so important. And also having boundaries. And I think of like my best friends that I have, all of those people, I've never had to tell them a boundary more than once. And when I say a boundary, it's like, oh, I'm not available, or I'm not available for this, or, none of my good friends have made me feel bad about anything in my life, never. And that's really great. Are they people that want me to grow and evolve? Of course, we're all growing and evolving together. But there isn't projection, there isn't manipulation, there isn't control, and there isn't this sense of being entitled to my time, my energy, and expecting things from me in that way, which I think is really important. And some people might be like, well, you should have expectations from your friends. And, depending on your culture, your background, and, your life experience, you might have a different lens on friendship, and that is okay. I'm sharing mine and what works for me. And this is really when I look at my top friends. There's no drama. There's just love. There's fun. There's play. There's alignment. And there's radical trust. And I know that any of those friends would have my back if I was ever going through a crisis. And that's really what matters at the end of the day, and wishing the best for other people. And I remember years ago, I did an episode on a past show that I had, and I talked about what spirituality really is. And that's a multi-layered question. But at the time, I just talked about how it's really about honoring your spirit and honoring other people's spirits. What does my spirit need in order to be happy and fulfilled? And also honoring other people's needs to be happy and fulfilled, and not trying to manipulate or change people based on your comfort level, but also discernment of who you let into your circle. So I hope this conversation has been valuable for you in some way when it comes to adult relationships. I want to ask you the question of, what do you want inside of your adult relationships? And what are potentially some experiences or situations that you may be going through that you need support with? Feel free to email us at hello@radicallyaligned.com to share that, or comment below in the chat if you are watching this on YouTube. And if you're enjoying these episodes so far and getting value, please leave a review. Have a beautiful week. Lots of love.